So we've covered our cloth items. Now let's go and cover our weapon items. Which means we're going to go and, you know what? Let's make the base class for item first of all, because we would like to handle all of them as a single script at some point. So, okay, this will be nothing new. We've already done this like 100 times already. Then we're going to make this the scriptable object. We're going to delete this, and this one now will be an abstract item class. On my cloth item, then we might have to redo them, but we might not. We'll see. So this now will derive from item. Let's save, and let's see if that corrupted our data. If it didn't, if it did, no, it didn't. Okay, perfect. So let's go on to our items. So we have our base class for items, which we're going to be using for working with the resources manager later on. We don't really care right now. So the same way we did that for the cloth items, we're going to do the same way for a weapon. So we're going to say weapon item, and let's make this derive from item, then create asset menu, menu name, R2, items, weapon item. Okay, obviously this is going to have a game object for the model prefab first of all, and I think for now this will be it. We need a few more utilities, for example, what's the position on the left hand or on the right hand, but I think we can do this a little bit more dynamic. So here's how we can simplify everything we were doing before. I'm going to create a weapon item or a weapon holder hook. Okay, and let's open all that, namespace, say, add that, and then we can do, first of all, I'm going to have a transform, and I'm going to say parent override. Then I'm going to have public void load weapon model, and I will need to pass the game object for the model, and I'm going to say if parent override is not null, then you're going to parent that model dot transform dot parent under your parent override dot transfer, or just transfer parent override. Okay, else model dot transfer dot parent equals this dot transform. Then whatever we have parented under, local position is going to be vector3.0, then local rotation is going to be quaternio.identity. Also scale vector3.1. Okay, so we are at unity when loading our weapon model. Then we can also have unload weapon. So we're going to also do a game object or model or current model, and if current model is not null, we need an unload weapon and a completely unload weapon. So when we are changing items, you will want to destroy the previous items you have. Unload weapon or and unload weapon completely, unload weapon and destroy. You'll see when this will come into play. And if current model is not null, destroy current model. Awesome. And unload weapon, current model dot set active to false. And down here we just need to set current model to model. If model is not null in this case, but I don't think we're going to have an issue with this. Alternatively, we can actually, instead of passing the game object, let's just pass the actual weapon to this. So this will be weapon item here, weapon item, and this is under the wrong namespace, that's why we got the issue. Okay, then weapon item, game object, model, weapon item. We're going to instantiate weapon item model prefab as game object. Okay, so if weapon item is null, then return, but first unload weapon. Okay, if there is no current model, then we don't really care. It's just going to be passing that. Okay, so we just need to pass the reference on the hook, which means we can have a weapon manager or a weapon holder manager, and let's go and do that. And the similar thing we did with our cloth item hook. Okay, though with technically with our cloth manager, technically if you want to have a character with 8 hands, and all 8 hands are going to be able to be modular, and they're going to be changing, you're going to have 8 different weapons on each hand. If you can do that, then you can use a dictionary. For our case, we only have 2 weapon hooks. Okay, so we're now on the road that we will have to check, or we will have to decide if we're going to keep it strictly modular, or if we're going to have to keep it, really specific. And that's a hard question, to be honest, but I know that if we do it like the cloth manager, it's going to cover all cases, even if you're never going to have a character with 5 hands. Okay, so I think I'm going to do actually, maybe that's overcomplicating it, but I think I'd rather do the dynamic way, but because you only have two arms, most likely, and because you're going to only have 2 hands, most likely, you don't need to complicate it this much. So I'm just going to do a dirty copy paste and just change anything I will need. For this now is going to be actually, you know what? We don't need this, to be honest. Okay, so forget anything I said. Let's do okay, hold on. So actually, you know what? Let's bring it back. Oops, we need redo, which is Control Y. Oh, we lost it. Anyway, let's copy this, paste this. Before we do any changes onto here, let's go and create, let's add the names first of all, and let's go and create a weapon holder okay, let's do a weapon holder type. Weapon holder type. We're going to need a reference however, to, you know what, screw this, let's do it specific. So we're going to say public weapon holder hook, left hook, public weapon holder hook, right hook. Okay, then inside over here we're going to say public bool is left hook, and then on public void init, although I think we don't really need any changes to init anyway, so we're going to need a public void init for this one. And we're going to also say weapon holder hook, this needs to be an array, so holder hooks, get components in children, weapon holder hook. So for each weapon holder hook in weapon holder hooks, if hook dot, or you know what, left hook equals hook dot is left hook, and yeah, that's wrong. If hook is left hook, left hook equals hook, right hook equals hook. And now we can do a public void load right, or load weapon on hook, pass me the weapon item, and for this we can just say load weapon on hook. Okay, if it's left or right, so bool is left, and if is left hook dot load weapon model weapon item, else right hook dot load weapon model weapon item. Okay, so the init now is going to go on under character state manager. Let's find it. Let's find our character state character state manager, which we're going to be having a public weapon holder manager, and then on the init of this we can also do weapon holder manager, get component children, weapon holder manager, and so on. Then on my player state manager, or most likely also on the enemies, so we have player state manager. I'm going to create a new, do we need a new list for this? I think we don't need a list. I'm just going to do public weapon item, right weapon, left weapon. For now, we're going to tailor this a little bit. So we have cloth manager, then we need weapon holder manager init, and weapon holder manager dot load weapon on hook, left weapon true, weapon holder manager load weapon on hook, right weapon false. Okay. So we have all of this, and let's create an item. Let's go under our items. Let this save first. Okay, perfect. Let's go under items, and let's do folder weapon items. Open that up. And let's do create items, weapon item. Let's say great sword. We're going to worry about UI and all stuff like that later. Don't really care. Let's do great sword. Pivot. Okay. So I'm going to drag and drop this onto my right weapon over here. This will be helpful. The same way we are doing this, this can be helpful for enemies. Okay, and come to think of it, we might move the starting cloth list and the right weapon list onto the character state manager. And actually, let's go and do that. And let's go on the player state manager. We're going to cut this, and we're going to have another manager script that is going to be responsible for getting us those weapon items. So, onto the character state manager. Let's paste them in here. We might have to reset them. We might have to set them again, but they should be under the same reference. So we're missing something. Let's see. Where is this? Oh, we need the collection to generic. You know what? Let's move this. Let's create a new header. Let's do this below. Runtime references for this one. Okay, perfect. Save that. Minimize. Perfect. Let's see. We don't even need to set them again. So now let's go and fix our weapon hooks or weapon holder hooks. Weapon holder hook then. This is the right hand, and we know that always on the right hand we always keep the weapon at 0, 0 beneath the right hand, and we fix the model instead of the actual pivot. On the left hand, however, we're going to create a weapon holder hook, and I'm going to create another empty object. For now, just going to sit at 0, 0. Just going to drag and drop the parent override, and I'm going to click is left hook. I'm going to hit play, and we're going to get the first. And we did got an error. Let's find where this error coming from. Yeah, we forgot to add the weapon holder hook. So let's say weapon holder manager, not hook. Okay, so hit play. You will see that these values are going to be populated on start. Okay, now we haven't got our great sword because, let's see, we actually got it, but it's very, very small. So that means we need to fix the scale of this. So one way to do that will simply be underneath here, we can set this to 100, 100, and 100. Okay, you will also see that for the right hand, it's actually wrong. It's not on the proper position. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this greatsword, bring the greatsword down until it looks like what I'm going to need. Okay, something like that. Let's go and do this as a prefab then. So on my weapon items, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to make this as a prefab. I'm going to say greatsword. We probably used the wrong item for the instance. Hit play. Okay, and there we go. We now have our item. We're not really loading any different attacks depending on item yet. Okay, that's going to come later. Let's go and move on the greatsword on the left hand. Let's drop the greatsword again. Hit play. And you will see that it does spawn, but it spawns the opposite way. So, since this now is a different object. I'm going to go on this game object and I'm going to rotate it the way I believe it's going to look correctly on when you're holding a hand on the left side, on your left hand. When you're holding a weapon on your left hand, not a hand on your left hand. Okay, let's do something like that or whatever. Previously, or in other series, we were usually just saving a lot more values, which I wouldn't like to do that right now, to be honest. So I would like to have an override. I'm going to copy the component of this. I'm going to go out of play mode and I'm going to do paste component values, and we can also rename this to left hand pivot override. And you can see that we are using less values. Okay, so now we have both hands working. Both hands having weapon items, and if I want to load something else, I will simply have to remove or add one of these items. Okay, so that's for the weapon items. We still, of course, need to have a weapon hook onto the prefab itself. So let's do that. Let's say weapon hook. Let's open it up. Which is going to control other aspects of your weapon, and this will have to go on the prefab. I think we don't necessarily need this at the moment. It's not going to do anything, but for example, if you wanted to have some, I don't know, maybe some particles that enable every now and then, maybe some different noises when you are hitting something, you name it. Okay, if you want to have more specific codes, if this was for a third-person shooter, for example, or even an FPS, I guess, and you wanted to control, the weapon animation or any of this, then you will need a weapon hook. We don't need this anymore, or right now, so I'm just going to delete it and call it a day. Okay, so there's that for this. Close all of this. Okay, and let it compile. And I think we are done with our weapon items as well. We have some logic. So if we did this for an enemy and we had the same behaviors for all our enemies, we could just use if this was an enemy, then we could just use either this to load an item and have different items, and we could also have different logic, different attack patterns, all those things. Okay, awesome. So let's call it a day, and you know what to do. If you like this, then like, subscribe, don't forget to share it, and if you like to see more stuff like this, consider supporting a Patreon so we can keep making a lot more of these. I'll see you on the next one.